Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
You know, the animal kingdom can flash a little attitude too, and if you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you're in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast, where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of industry professionals and we pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more in a light and in a conversational fashion. And if you like how we do things around here, I'm going to assume that you do because you're listening right now. You can subscribe to the podcast. Give us that big old like, subscribe, 5-star rating. You can find us basically wherever you get your podcast. We're on Apple. We're on Spotify, Google, Amazon, you name it. Just wherever you get your podcast, whoever your provider is, we're probably there. Also, don't hesitate to check us out on YouTube as well, because we archive every single one of our episodes there over at our In the Seats YouTube channel. So if you can give us a like and subscribe there as well, we would appreciate it. Also, don't hesitate to check us out on social media. We are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, and we are on Instagram at either at In the Seats or at It's Podcast One for all sorts of updates. And finally, and most importantly, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca, for all the latest and greatest from the world of film, television, basically the moving image at large. Because if we love to write about it and talk about it, we love it when you come by and read about it and listen about it. So please pay us a visit. On this one, we got another one hitting theaters tomorrow. It is a family-friendly adventure from our friends over at MK2 Mile End. It's called The Wolf and the Lion. It's the story of a wolf pup, and a lost lion cub who are rescued by a young girl in the heart of the Canadian wilderness. And their friendship ends up changing their lives forever. It's a really nice story about treating animals well and just conservatorship and just making sure that, you know, these little creatures get the respect they deserve, because not always there are people out there who don't necessarily do that. And it's a fascinating, it's a fun film, and it's fascinating too, because the wolf and the lion, they aren't CGI, they're actual wolves and lions. And we had the unique pleasure of talking with the girl who rescues them in the heart of the Canadian wilderness, one Molly Kunz, and we asked about how she got the job and just working with real animals and passing that test, and so very much more. But hope you enjoy our talk with Molly, and if you need some family-friendly cuddles this weekend at the theaters, go check out The Wolf and the Lion. But as I always say first, check out our talk with Molly, because it's a good one.
Well, obviously, first off, just thank you for the time today. I appreciate this.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Congrats on the movie. I mean, I guess walk me through sort of getting the script and reading for the part and sort of getting involved.
I was sent this script back in June of 2018. And when I first read that the director wanted to do the movie with live animals, I thought, that's crazy. They can't possibly mean that. But I did the audition anyway, because I thought, you know, I love the script. Yeah. I just don't see how they're possibly going to pull this off. But I auditioned for it over self-tape. Okay. And sent the tape to the director Gilles, and his wife, and the writer Prune ended up seeing seeing my audition, and they liked it. And then we moved forward, and I went to Alberta to meet some wolves at that point. And that was sort of like my callback. And the idea was wolves are very particular about who they like.
Yeah.
And they'll either like your energy or they won't, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
So if I happened to be someone who the wolves did not like, you know, they
were the executive producers. They were the final, final say.
It was like a chemistry read that you would have with like your co-star, but I had it with wolves. So I went. I essentially was not going to get the role if the wolves didn't like me. So I went up with Gilles to the animal trainers' land in Alberta. Yeah. And went in with a pack of wolves.
I mean, that's wild. I mean, obviously that kind of dovetails into my next question, but I would imagine that, I mean, audition aside, it took a while to sort of get used to working with the animals. I mean, imagine that was a lot of prep even before the cameras even started rolling.
It was. I had several. I had several bonding and training sessions with the animals with animals actually, before even my animals for the film were born. So I met the animals that you see me with on screen. I met when they were 5 weeks old,
Wow. Okay.
and we created over 2 years. We created that relationship, so it could be authentic for the cameras, and so that it would be safe for everyone involved. But even before that, I had training sessions with Andrew, our animal coordinator, and other movie wolves that he has, just for my purposes, so I could practice like being comfortable with these huge animals and running with them and understanding how they communicate. I would spend hours there just observing them, just watching how they bond with each other, how they communicate with each other, so that when I was in the circumstance myself, I could better understand how to, be a friend to them, essentially.
Well, I mean, that's amazing because I mean, this is obviously feels like much more than just the sort of quote unquote job. You go in, you shoot, you get out. Like this was a lot of time commitment on your part. What was it about the material that made you want to sort of dedicate this much time?
I think initially, what's strange is that initially when I heard about the film, before I read the full script, I thought, I'm just not sure I'm their girl. I don't think I'm the right fit for this, because I didn't grow up with pets. So I thought, I don't know, I'm not really like an animal person per se. I like them, but I don't, I don't have 10 cats and 5 dogs, and I'm not that type of person. And when I read this, they said, well, just read the script, just see what you think. And so when I read the script, I recognized the fact that Alma, it's not that they're animals, it's that, or not necessarily, it's just they're little, like, they're just beings
Yeah.
that are there for her to be part of her family, and she needs a family and she needs a place to belong. And it's really more of a nurturing instinct, like a mothering instinct, I think, on her part. And that was more what I connected to. Just sort of this desire to protect these helpless little creatures who had no one else.
I think the film really is such a great example of just how much personality these animals can have as well. And I'm kind of curious, were there any sort of fun moments you can tell us about, just sort of in the middle of shooting, that maybe caught you off guard?
Yeah, they do have their own little personalities, and I loved getting to know them like that, because they're just so funny. They were always just doing things that made us laugh. I remember one time, Walter is the lion cub, and he gets dropped into my arms at one point in the film. And I'm supposed to look around like I'm shocked and surprised, and this magical thing just happened. And he of course did not fall all the way from the tree. That would be too dangerous, but we just plopped him about 4 inches down, so he fell into frame and into my arms. And we did it, and then I was looking around, and the whole crew started laughing, and we hadn't cut yet.
Yeah.
And I was thinking in my head, like, this is so rude. Like, what is this crew doing? This is so unprofessional. I'm trying to act here, and they just kept laughing and laughing, and I was so confused. And then I felt this kind of warm liquid on my skirt. And I was like, oh no. Oh, Walter, why'd you do this to me? But yeah, that happens. Babies, baby animals, baby humans, they just, they gotta go and they gotta go.
That's a fact. That is a fact of life for sure.
We had a costume change. Luckily, I always had multiples of my costume. So if something like that happened, we were prepared.
Well, I mean, especially, I've got to imagine, especially considering where you were shooting too, just given the elements and whatnot. How was that for you, just to be able to get into character? Because I mean, there's a lot of physicality to what you have to do in this role as well.
Yeah, so much of the role was much more body language than anything else, because especially because that's how the animals primarily understand me and communicate with me. But with regards to the setting, I mean, it's just gorgeous. You can see in the film, it's stunning, and it does feel kind of magical. It really lends itself well to that element of the movie.
Now I have to ask: were you at the top of the call sheet, or were the wolf and the lion sort of at the top of the call sheet every day when you had to come to set?
Oh, technically, I was number one on the call sheet, but they were number one in everyone's hearts. We all knew that. I knew where I stood. I knew my place. If they didn't want to work, they did not have to work. We were, and I love that our production did this. I love that that we treated them with just the utmost respect at all times. It was just love, just respect. But truly, like, if they weren't in the mood to film, okay, we don't film that today. We'll just move on to something else. And that's part of the time investment, because you can't say, all right, we have a 35-day shoot schedule and that's it. You have to allow for whatever may happen and be flexible. But of course, if I was like, I feel a little grouchy today, I haven't had my snack. Yeah, we're not breaking for that. They were little divas.
Now, I mean, I'm curious because, I mean, obviously this isn't your first part. You've done a few features and TVs and whatnot, but this feels like it's a one-in-a-kind kind of shoot. Now that you're at the tail end of it, what's your pull away? Like, what do you take from this project going forward?
I think as an actor, what I take away from this project, I mean, so much of what I take away from it is not really career related at all. I think it was such an incredible learning experience for me to open up my heart to something bizarre and beautiful. The relationship with those animals that, I still think about, I still miss them. We really did bond, and I just didn't think that I was capable of that kind of relationship. And I didn't believe that I necessarily could be brave enough to do something like that. And I think that was a personal takeaway, but career-wise, it made me want to continue to do projects that push me and that maybe color outside the lines a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
It made the idea of, like, go to the same sound stage every day and 9 to 5 do the same thing,
Right.
The reason I did this career is I didn't want a 9 to 5. So I think it sort of reinforced that for me, that I have the opportunity to have all these, like, incredible adventures with what I do, and I want to try to take advantage of that as much as I can.
Well, keep taking advantage of that and keep being brave enough, because I mean, I think you guys have put together a really sweet story here that, it's nice to have a reminder that we need to open our hearts to something weird and strange every once in a while. I think this does that. I think it's a great film for all ages, and
Oh, thank you.
you did a great job in it, and just thanks for the time today.
No, thank you. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Have
Molly.
a good one.
All right, you too.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.